If you own territory, a vast swath of land, and you're doing nothing to it, and someone comes and squats on it and spends a lot of time improving it, at some point they actually develop a valid legal claim to the property itself. And so there seems to be something intrinsic to our notion of valid ownership, that if you're going to occupy a territory, you actually have to do something with it that's productive. And so that's at least part of the claim you're making at the moment, to buttress the notion that the Jewish people have a valid claim to the present territory.
Well, and
there were a lot of movement back and forth,
yes,
but the Jews have actually taken the land and made something of it.
So, leave us alone, you centralizers of power, you worshippers of Gaia, you sacrificers of the wealth and property of others, you would-be planetary saviors, you Machiavellian pretenders and virtue signalers, objecting to power, all the while you gathered around you madly. Leave us alone, to prosper or not, as a result of our own choices, as a result of our own actions, in the exercise of our own requisite and irreducible responsibility. Leave us alone, or reap the whirlwind, and watch the terrible destruction of what you purport to save.
And I think it is true in some real sense that the fate of the world depends on the decisions of the people of Israel.
Leave us alone, you centralizers of power.
As the fate of the world depends.
You Machiavellian pretenders and virtue signalers.
So you make yourself a shining light on the hill, right? You attract people here because of what you're capable of doing. You show the world what the holy city,
you worshippers of Gaia,
could look like, because we need it.
We solved, without the cornucopia of Arab oil, we solved our refugee problem caused by the Arab onslaught on Israel. The Palestinian refugee problem is kept alive by the Arabs that have 100 times more land, infinite oil resources. They keep it alive as a battering ram to produce exactly the propaganda you
It is a
said.
shameful
So
spectacle
what
to see how the whole democratic world is oozing sympathy for the poor, tormented Jewish people, but remains hard-hearted and obdurate when it comes to helping them, which is surely, in view of its attitude, an obvious duty. The arguments that are brought up as an excuse for not helping them actually speak for us Germans and Italians. For this is what they say. 1, we, that is the democracies, are not in a position to take in the Jews. Yet in these empires there are not 10 people to the square kilometer, while Germany, with her 135 inhabitants to the square kilometer, is supposed to have room for them.
The Arabs have huge areas of land, I think hundreds of times the size of Israel. I'd let your viewers know, they probably don't know, Israel in its entirety is the size of New Jersey. Mm-hmm. That's how big we are. It's a tiny, tiny country. And, you know, before the Jews came back home, beginning in the late 1800s, it was a desolate, barren, miserable land infested with mosquitoes and malaria.
And Germany was good enough to receive these elements, although they possessed nothing except infectious political and physical diseases. What they possess today, they have by a very large extent gained at the cost of the less astute German nation by the most reprehensible manipulations.
But you know, go get a life. Stop being victims. Go build your future. And it seems to me that their core ideology is to prevent us from having a state, and not rather than them having their own future.
Yeah, well, the victimizing narrative is a very...
We are resolved to prevent the settlement in our country of a strange people which was capable of snatching for itself all the leading positions in the land. Above all, German culture, as its name alone shows, is German and not Jewish, and therefore its management and care will be entrusted to members of our own nation. If the rest of the world...
They didn't accept Israel's right to exist, even though we're a tiny country. The reason we have not had peace with the Palestinians, what is the cause of the Arab aggression. It's the persistent Arab refusal to accept a Jewish state in any boundary in our ancestral homeland. And if you remove that, you get peace. Now, how do we know that we get peace?
Imaginable excuse.
Because this
I think that the sooner this problem is solved, the better. For Europe cannot settle down until the Jewish question is cleared up. It may very well be possible that sooner or later an agreement on this problem may be reached in Europe, even between those nations which otherwise do not so easily come together. The world has sufficient space for settlements, but we must once and for all get rid of the opinion that the Jewish race was only created by God for the purpose of being in a certain percentage a parasite living on the body and the productive work of other nations. The Jewish race will have to adapt itself to sound constructive activity as other nations do, or sooner or later it will succumb to a crisis of an
You're also making the case that when the Jews came to Israel, they were doing what they could to coexist with the people who were there,
Right.
with a sparse number of people who were there, but also to set up a state that would invite other people who weren't Jewish to live there as well. So it wasn't an oppressive regime in any sense.
well,
I will answer your question, okay? I've studied Nazism for a very long time. It's been 4 decades, and I understand it very well. And I can tell you that there's some awful people lurking in the corners, and they're ready to come out. And if the radical left keeps pushing the way
That
it's
sounds
pushing,
very much like a
they're
threat.
going to come.